All right, family. We live with the general. We got a heavy, heavy mental presentation today. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump's military threat on Iran. You see, if they don't remove, uh, they put some mines in the Strait of Hormuz to block shipping, oil and whatever transport. As far as global transport, they have blocked the Strait of Hormuz with explosives, and so this is coming down to a very, very escalated situation. This is an escalated situation because so much trade comes through the Strait of Hormuz. The gas is going to be $6 a gallon in a minute if they can't get the Strait of Hormuz open. And so this is gonna get serious because United States and Donald Trump, Netanyahu, the Israelis have attacked Iran, and for the most part, they have not destroyed the regime. The regime is still in power. And so they are able to inflict serious damage, not just on the United States, but on the world. On the world. So much, goes through the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of oil, at least 25% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And so you can see right now, right here, uh, you know, right here in the United States, you see where the gas has went up, tremendously and going to continue to go up. Now, whether it was unprovoked or not, that's like I say, they've been trading blows for a while. So that's just what it is. If people gonna start with what just happened the other day, then you're not familiar with the ongoing conflict between the West and Islam. Anyway, this didn't start the other day. This didn't start the other day. So this been going on for a while. And anybody that knows the global impact, you know, as far as the United States and Iran knew they was gonna get into it one day, one way or another. That was coming. So you just pick and choose. It ain't gonna never be the right time. It ain't gonna never be the right time. So that's just what it is. And so, but you knew it was coming. I mean, even when they went over there the last time, they knew it was coming. I mean, you bombed, and they're not about to let Iran become the next North Korea. That's just not gonna happen. Okay, that's just not gonna happen. They was talking that mess with North Korea, but North Korea ended up getting that bomb quicker than what they thought. You know, they North Korea ended up getting that bomb quicker than what they thought. And so they don't want to let Iran get the bomb because Iran is something different than North Korea. North Korea want to be left alone. That's all Korea want. They want to make sure don't nobody run up in there on them. But North Korea don't have aspirations to control the world. Iran has aspirations to control the world. That's something different. And see, this is what we have to understand that these is two imperialistic powers that are fighting to be the big dog, in certain parts of the world, and neither one have no place for you. So you could just forget that, you know, you could just forget that. And no, not one of them got a place for you, and you could just remember that. And so, as we say, I don't know about that. I don't know if it's unprovoked because when you trying to be the big dog, ain't no time for crying. See, we so used to, niggas cry so much over little thing. When you vowing to be the top, that's just a blow you gonna have to take to get to the top. You ain't coming to the top without some wars. This is the way of the world in 2026. It's been the way of the world now for over 100 years. since World War One. You ain't coming to the top without some wars. And so Iran wants to be the big dog then, and you slanging you slanging threats and things of that nature. You can't be talking about death to America and all that. And I'm just saying what it is. You can't expect nobody to not, in return fire. That's just what it is. Okay. And so, but they are, they in it to win it. They in it to win it. That don't mean they just because they bombed over there. It's been a media blackout that on some of the the devastation that they've been causing. They have been causing some devastation throughout the region, and in the various Arab countries and in Israel. There has been a media blackout. And so they got some more, and that's what I told you. I say they're gonna have to put boots on the ground. That's just what it is. You see? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So well, they've been at war over there longer than that. They've been at war over there longer than that. When the Crusaders was going over there, you see that. I mean, it's been going on since then. It's been going on since then, and so they want to control what they quote unquote the Holy Land, and uh, Islam. They say it belongs to them, and it don't belong to neither one of them. And so and a lot of people, I don't understand, where people tend to side with Iran, and Iran has been a slave trading nation just like any other nation, and been one of the biggest slave trading nations, in the Islamic world. Because I mean, outside, you talking about Iran and Saudi Arabia are the two biggest Islamic nation. Those really the two citadels of Islam. You got Saudi Arabia being the citadel of Sunni Islam, and Iran being the citadel of Shiite Islam. So I mean, people talking about, I don't care what happened to them. Real talk. I mean, you want to be, get straight to it, but we have soldiers, and I'm not about the politics of America, but our family is in there. We got something at stake. And then people gonna say, well, we didn't tell them to go in there. Well, goddamn, y'all ain't providing no economy for your babies neither. That's what Marcus Garvey was talking about. If you had provided the economy for your babies over here, they wouldn't have to go in the military. Some of them have to go in the military to feed themselves, because the black people over here ain't found a way to build economy in their communities. And so that, causes people to have to sometimes make that hard decision to go in, so they get, it's a lot of people out here homeless out here in these streets too. So some people choose not to go that route. Some people choose to find another way, and for a lot of them, that was the way. And for a lot of part, for the most part, they didn't have to go to war. You know what I'm saying? You get a free, trip around the world, and you get some training and so on, and so for the most part, you don't even have to see war. You might have to go overseas, but it ain't been a war in a minute. So for the last 15 years, there ain't been no real major fighting nowhere. So I mean, for the most part, it's been a good thing for people. You see, so he said, just just lay low. Did Iran have almost 200? I don't know what I haven't been. I don't know about Iran having anything. They say 200 Delta four. I haven't heard nothing about that. You know, I mean, they're capable of inflicting some damage. I mean, Iran is a pretty big nation. You're talking about 90 million people, and they've been fighting, and they pretty much been, training the majority of the other proxies out there, Hezbollah, Hamas, the ones down in Yemen. So yeah, so I mean, they've been trained a lot of proxies on in the Middle East and in Asia. So yeah, I mean, they are capable of doing a lot of things. I just think Trump naive. I don't know. He's not really a military man. He didn't go into the military, so he don't really know. And that that Secretary of Defense, what's his name? Head Self. He ain't really no military man for real. He ain't really no military man for real. So, they get to talking and and until they get off into it and realize it's gonna take a whole lot more than just bombing them over there. If you intend to, really, find out what they got in there, you're gonna have to put boots on the ground, which I said already. You're gonna have to kick doors in. You're gonna have to get up under the house where they hiding stuff, and that's gonna cause you to have to go in there. And of course, it's gonna be casualties. And I don't know where the United States Army, and Marines, what the extent, they saying that the numbers is not as large as what they want them to be. Probably not nowhere as large as when they went into Iraq, even though they still got a million soldiers. Now they got a million soldiers, and so it's not going to be a pinprick like they think. It's not going to be a pinprick. They're going to have to really get in there and get busy if that's the case. Nah, you didn't instruct these people. You didn't instruct these people, and they're going to try to close that straight down, which is going to turn the global economy upside down. So they're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do about they're gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do about opening up that Strait of Hormuz. And I don't know what they intend to do, you know, because I mean, if Iran want to shoot, I mean, they could do like the Houthis down there in Yemen and shoot missiles at the ships, and it's gonna get ugly before it get better. That's the way I see it. I don't know if they're gonna go into an all-out war on them, but they're gonna give them a minute to get them, them explosives out the Strait of Hormuz. They didn't put it, they didn't put mines down there, ship going there and hit one of the mines and blow it up. And of course they trying to keep United States warships out of the Strait. And really, I don't think they're gonna try to, and I believe it may be some, but they sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks if they sitting out there, so they're gonna have to figure out, and the only way I see them doing that is getting soldiers on the ground. But how long is you gonna stay? That's the thing. That's the thing right there. How long is you gonna stay? You're gonna literally have to stay there forever. You say, did they take out the Ayatollah son? Did they get him? Did they knock him off yet? What up, Ray? Did they knock him off? I ain't heard. I just really touched back on the computer. Hold on, family. I didn't think they knocked him off yet, did they? I know they're gonna get him. Because they ain't got no choice but to get him. Yeah, I heard they said he was injured, but I mean, they ain't got no choice but to get him. I mean, you can't. It didn't make no sense. Black Power. It didn't make no sense to really knock off. You got to knock everybody off. You can't leave nobody. You see what I'm saying? You can't leave nobody. That's just what it is. Nobody's substantial. I mean, you got a little, and that's just what it is. You can't leave the Revolutionary Guard intact. You can't leave that intact. What y'all doing? Y'all done bombing, so all they gonna want is revenge. And so they didn't activated sleeper cells, and this is what's being said. And you would think they would after taking such, you know, all that damage over there. They gonna want some revenge for that. They not gonna sit on their hands because look at the ideology in which they believe in. I mean, nobody, if they don't stand up and do something, they might as well throw in the towel. As far as all this, global Islamic empires, it's time to throw in the towel if you take it like that. So yeah, they trying to colonize them, and hey, I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's only a few roads to travel. Either they gonna chalk it up and move on, and I don't see how they gonna do that since they didn't bomb. You can't go back to what it was before. You can't. It didn't. Y'all didn't went too far. They didn't went too far. Iran didn't bomb, a lot of them nations over there. And I don't know if they're gonna continue to host the United States, because people see that if they get into it with anybody, that's gonna be, they're gonna be a target, for hosting the United States. And so, we don't, it's a lot at stake. So Donald Trump didn't just put himself in a predicament. Whether he gonna have to, you know, regardless to what people believe, yeah, say apologies. No, it ain't gonna be. It can't be no apologies. Can't be no apologies. You didn't bomb. You didn't knocked off they leaders. You can't apologize for that. You got to ride out now. You got to ride out. You cannot kill all their leaders. They killed two levels of leadership. You know what I'm saying? They killed two or three levels of leadership, not just the administration, the ones that would take their place and the ones that would take their place. They knocked off three levels of leadership. Okay, so ain't no apologies after that. You got to ride all the way out. So I don't know why they would even do that without just going ahead and punishing them, for real, for real. And yeah, you gonna lose some soldiers. That's just what it is. And I'm not saying that, because it is what it is. You dealing with a nice sized nation, that's strapped. And so it's gonna be some deaths. It's gonna be some deaths. And I don't know what this generation of United States Army, because they ain't really seen no war for real. Now, if you had, went into Iran right after Iraq and Afghanistan, them boys was fighting. They had been on the battlefield for 10, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Some of them been out there 10, 10, 15 years. Black power, just these young guys haven't even really seen battle like that. And then you talking about them boys over there in Iran, they training, they've been doing things. And so yeah, he should have, they should have seen that ahead of time. What was gonna happen, shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, and they should have known that. I mean, that's what, if you think, on from the other side, you should have known that was, I mean, if I was Iran, that's what I would have did. You think they ain't gonna you think y'all about to bomb us, and you think you about to ship your products through our straits and through our water? No, you're not gonna do that. That's just what's happened. That's just, logical. You know what I'm saying? That's just logical. Yeah, they ain't seen battle neither. That's correct. They haven't. They haven't seen battle either. You know, I don't think for a second, for real, that Iran could beat the United States. I just don't. But what I'm saying is it's not going to be a cakewalk. People got to expect that bodies is going to come home in a casket. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think people's is really, coming to that realization because they didn't think that it was going to go there. They thinking it's just going to be dropping some bombs and getting up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Iran is not Venezuela, but see, this is what's scary because they already saying that, United States is doing their thing. And you got to understand, you got the Israelis, you got the United States. They saying, Netanyahu ain't, Donald Trump is not Netanyahu. Netanyahu is a warmonger for real. He's a warmonger. And so he been ready to go over there. And so Netanyahu is ready to drop a nuke on them. Straight up. Straight up. I'm just telling you where they ready to go with it. You know what I'm saying? Netanyahu, if they, because they it's a blackout, and we're gonna talk about that, about how Iran is hitting the Israelis. They taking some punishment over there. Now I don't know how much more punishment they're gonna take, but it's been a blackout because they don't want people to know exactly, the type of damage that they taking, but they are taking some damage over there. They getting some missiles in over there. And so, yeah, they done took some, and there's some casualties over there too. So, but, and they saying that, Iran has, a lot of missiles that they keep talking about that they didn't depleted. No, they saying that's the little stuff. They say they still got the big stuff stored away, and these is way, and the little ones is getting in. So, when they pull out them big ones, and so if they launch one and they hit, man, listen, Netanyahu is thinking they're gonna drop a nuke on them, man. Straight up. That's what's gonna happen. You might, for the first, not the first time, but this might be the second time in world history, man, where people see a nuclear bomb go off. Because they ain't gonna take that punishment. Because I know Netanyahu, man. He's a warmonger. He that's what he want. He want to fight. He the one drug, Trump over there. Yeah, they want to fight. He want to fight. He been wanting to fight. They had to hold him back a lot of times from going over there. You see what I'm saying? And his thing is he ain't gonna play with him. He gonna end up dropping a nuke on him. That's just what it is. I'm telling you what it is. You see? So, people thinking, no, I think it's going, and that's going to be crazy if it happened. It's not, it's going to be crazy if it happened, to see a nuke go off, that's going to be crazy. You see? And Iran don't even care about their people. So, I mean, if you drop a nuke, who gonna really be devastated? Will the Republican Guard be devastated, or will the people of Iran be devastated? Like I say, it is what it is. I'm just looking at it from the outside, looking in on, what's happening. But with this Strait of Hormuz, that's critical. That's a critical move that they, and because the people is not gonna continue. The gas prices going up, and if they don't get them explosives out the water, and they end up sinking some ships, and that's what you're gonna have to go in there. You're gonna have to go in straight up. That's the only way you're gonna really get in there. Bombing is one thing, but people can go underground. You know what I'm saying? People can go underground, and that ain't gonna stop nothing. They'll come out. You can't bomb forever. What are you bombing? I mean, you done bombed all the strategic sites. You can't bomb the populace. And so at that point, when they done dug in and all the military sites have been hit, and they hiding underground. You got to send the soldiers in there to smoke them out. That's the only way you're gonna really see what they have, because they hiding a lot of the missiles. They not gonna fight the United States like that. You be dumb as hell to do that. So when you realize and that's how they did with the Iraq war. They didn't face head on. They let them roll in. You know what I'm saying? We not trying to face them like that. They let them roll in, and once all that shit get in there and it stop, that's when they gonna start fighting, because that it's in there now. You see what I'm saying? And so they can go to guerrilla warfare, and that's what they intend to do. But I don't, it's gonna be devastating. It's gonna be devastating. I can tell you that. And it's gonna be a world war. It's not gonna just be Iran, United States. It's gonna drag a whole lot of more countries in, because then they're gonna start, you got to, they're gonna look to Europe and they're gonna say, y'all got to come on in. NATO, y'all got to come over here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all been, we've been taking care of y'all, and every little skirmish that's going on in Europe, we come in there, spend our money, send our soldiers, all the bombs, every bomb we got costs $1 million. In America got $1 million bomb. Every bomb costs $1 million, damn near. You know what I'm saying? So, imagine dropping all these bombs, and you got to pay for more, which they don't mind doing. But, so you looking at a world war. So, but ultimately, I still, it's just not a good, because you could beat them, but what does beating them mean if you can't control the waterway forever? You got to control it forever. And as long as they got people over there, that's their country. They can start it up again. They could put more soon as you leave. They can go out there as soon as you leave and put some. So you're gonna have to leave soldiers over there. You're gonna have to leave ships out there for a long time. We talking about years and years and years. And so how long is you gonna do that? How long is you gonna do that? you know and so this is what it is. But family, uh he says it's gonna be military consequences at a level never seen before. And so what does that mean? I mean, you dropping all type of bombs on them right now. What does it mean? The only other thing is sending the soldiers in, or a nuclear bomb. And I mean, you got to be threatened, to use a nuke. Man, yeah, to use a nuke, and nobody else is threatening you with a nuke. Man, that's crazy. But anyway, family, we got some more. And check us out, man. We got the up on Patreon, we got the fentanyl epidemic, Chinese revenge for the opium wars. We're going, and this is all tied into the same thing that's going on right now. You see, this is a part of it. And also up right now, Chinese narcotic assault on the USA. Check it out. This is gonna lead to the next battle down in Mexico. So watch it and get the information, because it's very valuable, because it is a war that's happening in the Black community. And matter of fact, this is the main battlefield right now for this epidemic. Yes, it is. It's the main battlefield. Check it out, family. Click the link in the top of the chat, and I'll be right back. Black Power.